Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're joining me today because we're going to unpack something that honestly sits quietly in the background of our lives, yet completely dictates how our society functions. Today, we're exploring a really fundamental question. What does a constitution actually do for us in our daily lives? I mean, we hear the word all the time, right? On the news and politics, back in history class. But beyond just being a giant, thick book of laws, what is its actual living purpose? So let's dive right in and decode the chapter Constitution, Why and How, together. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to hit 5 key steps. The need for basic rules, power, limits, and aspirations, the recipe for effectiveness, crafting the Indian Constitution, and finally, the power of public reason. Let's get to it. Section 1, the need for basic rules. To really wrap our heads around this, let's do a quick thought experiment. I want you to strip away the government, the courts, the politicians, the whole shebang. Imagine yourself as a member of a huge, incredibly diverse group of people. You've got different religions, different professions, totally different tastes, and different income levels. Now, with all that diversity, disputes are absolutely inevitable, right? Who owns what? Is schooling mandatory? Should we put our money towards security or building parks? Every single question is going to get a different answer. Yet, this group has to live together. They rely on each other. So, what actually enables them to coexist peacefully? Well, the contrast here is pretty stark. Without basic rules, honestly, it's just deep insecurity. You literally have no idea what the person next to you might do or who could just decide to claim rights over your stuff. That's exactly why any group needs rules. But here's the catch. It's not enough to just write them down on a piece of paper. They have to be publicly known and legally enforceable. Enforceable rules give us this crucial thing called mutual assurance. It basically means you have the confidence that if you play fair, others are going to play fair too, because everyone knows rule breakers will actually face consequences. Section 2, Power, Limits, and Aspirations. So who actually gets to decide what those rules are? Well, a constitution steps in and basically performs 4 core functions to figure that out. First, like we just talked about, it provides those basic rules for minimal coordination. Second, it specifies decision-making powers. It decides who gets to decide the laws. In India, for example, it specifies that Parliament gets to make those calls. Third, and this is a big one, it sets strict limits on government power. An elected government can't just arbitrarily arrest you or discriminate against you based on your religion. There are fundamental, hard limits it simply cannot cross. And fourth, it enables societal aspirations. It actually empowers the government to take positive steps forward, like India acting to end caste discrimination or South Africa working to dismantle a deep history of racial inequality. But actually arriving at these shared rules, oh, it is a messy, messy process. Just look at this cartoon here, The Feuding Fathers. It perfectly illustrates the chaos. Crafting a constitution isn't just some peaceful, quiet afternoon of writing nice ideas on parchment. It is a grueling negotiation of clashing factions and ideologies, all fighting for power. It really highlights the monumental human effort it takes to agree on a single shared set of rules. Moving on to Section 3, the recipe for effectiveness. You see, you could write the absolute most beautiful constitution in the world, but for it to actually have a real impact, you need what's called balanced institutional design. Historically, constitutions are often destroyed not by the general public, but by small, powerful groups trying to grab all the control. A truly well-crafted constitution intelligently fragments that power. Think of it like a giant puzzle where no single person holds all the pieces. The Indian Constitution is basically a masterclass in this. It distributes power horizontally across the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, and even independent bodies like the Election Commission. This ensures that if one institution starts stepping out of line, the others are right there to check it. No single group gets a monopoly on power. On top of that, if a constitution is going to survive the test of time as a respected document, it has to be what we call a living document. If it's too rigid, it's just going to snap under the pressure of changing times. But if it's too flexible, well, it doesn't provide any real security at all. The Indian Constitution brilliantly strikes this balance. It allows for the possibility to adapt to new, unforeseen circumstances while simultaneously placing very strict limits on those changes, so its core identity is never lost. Section 4, Crafting the Indian Constitution. All right, let's move from the abstract theory into some really fascinating historical reality. 299, that is an incredibly important number. Formally, the Indian Constitution was crafted by the Constitution Assembly, but history threw them a massive, tragic curveball. Because of the partition of India in 1947, members elected from territories that became Pakistan ceased to be part of the assembly. so the number of remaining members was reduced to exactly 299. And it was these 299 individuals who, carrying the absolute weight of a newly divided and incredibly diverse nation on their shoulders, came together to draft the supreme law of the land. And trying to harmonize all those differing voices was, frankly, a monumental task. If you look at this famous cartoon by Shankar, showing Jawaharlal Nehru trying to conduct this chaotic, highly diverse choir of assembly members, it just captures it perfectly. You had members literally singing different tunes, some wanting Jana Gana Mana, others Vande Mataram. They had to somehow harmonize these incredibly diverse and very often opposing voices from across different regions, religions, and political ideologies into one single unified framework. Now, to make this whole thing work, the framers were incredibly open-minded. Seriously, they did not let national pride get in the way of good governance. They intelligently borrowed the absolute best provisions from all around the globe. From the British, they brought over the rule of law and the first-past-the-post voting system. From the United States, they took the Charter of Fundamental Rights and the incredibly powerful tool of judicial review. They adopted Irish directive principles, the famous French ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, and the Canadian quasi-federal system with a strong central authority. Basically, they looked at what worked worldwide, took the best parts, and synthesized them perfectly for the Indian context. Section 5. The power of public reason. So we've got the people, and we've got the globally sourced ideas. But how did they actually sit down, debate, and agree? The true authority of the Indian Constitution doesn't just come from what it says, it comes from how it was made. The members engaged in something called public reason. Now, what that means is they placed a massive emphasis on genuine discussion and reasoned argument. They didn't just sit in the room trying to protect their own narrow personal or community interests. When they argued, they had to give principled reasons to the other members to justify their positions. Just think about the drafting committees for a second. You had absolute giants like B.R. Ambedkar, Jawaharlal Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, and Sardar Patel. These were not men who agreed with each other on everything, not even close. Yet they all sat down, worked together, and used public reason to forge a consensus, ensuring that no provision was detrimental to any particular group. Now, here is a fact that I just find absolutely mind-blowing. Almost every single issue that lies at the foundation of a modern state was debated fiercely. Should power be centralized or decentralized? What exact powers should the judiciary have? Should property rights be fully protected? They argued over all of it. But out of this massive, complex document, only one single provision passed without virtually any debate: universal suffrage. The idea that every single adult citizen would be entitled to vote entirely irrespective of their religion, caste, education, gender, or income. It was accepted immediately. It is just a stunning testament to the deeply democratic commitment of that assembly. So we've seen how a constitution coordinates a society, how it balances power, how it borrows the best ideas, and how it's forged in the fire of reasoned debate. But ultimately, at the end of the day, its survival comes down to you, the citizen. So I want to leave you with a really provocative question today, straight from our source material. Does the Constitution give everyone some reason to go along with it? Because a successful constitution must constantly command the voluntary allegiance of the people. It has to be just. It has to be the actual locus of our hopes and our aspirations. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive today. Think about the rules that govern your life right now and ask yourself, do they give you a reason to go along with them? Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you on the next explainer.